And welcome back to Hannity. So Democratic crybabies all across the country, they're having a very hard time accepting the crushing defeat to President-elect Donald Trump, and they're now trying to blame their loss on Russian interference. Now, earlier today on my radio show, I interviewed WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange and asked him about this and much more. Take a listen.
Our source is not the Russian government.
So, in other words, let me be clear. Russia did not give you the Podesta documents or anything from the DNC.
That's correct.
Can you confirm whether or not you have information involving hacked info from the RNC?
We received about 3 pages of information to do with the RNC and Trump. But it was already public somewhere else.
Without revealing your sources, would it be fair to say that the information as it relates to WikiLeaks and John Podesta's emails came from within the United States to you?
We have said it has not come from a state party. We know where it came from originally, of course. It's John Podesta, it's from the DNC, etc. There's been no claim that has been held up, it's not even maintained anymore, that any of the information has been modified or is fake.
So you can't confirm or deny if this information came from within the United States?
We're unhappy that we felt that we needed to even say that it wasn't a state party. Normally we say nothing at all, but we have a conflict of interest. We have an excellent reputation, a strong interest in protecting our sources, and so never saying anything about them, never ruling anyone in or anyone out. We sometimes do it. We don't like to do it. We have another interest, which is maximizing the impact of our publications.
Let me ask you this then.
So here, in order to prevent a distraction attack against our publications, we've had to come out and say, no, it's not a state party. Stop trying to distract in that way. Pay attention to the content of the publication.
So in other words, when you say state party, it wasn't another state like Russia or some other country.
Correct.
How secure is America's agencies, American government, America's secrets?
Everything is almost completely insecure now. The computer systems have become so complex that it is not possible to understand all the parts, let alone secure them. It is just impossible.
So, and that goes for individuals as well as a government?
It goes for all of us.
Let me ask you about Craig Murray, former British ambassador to Uzbekistan, an associate of yours. He was quoted in the Daily Mail that he flew to Washington, D.C. for the emails. He claimed he had a clandestine handoff in a wooded area near American University with one of the email sources, and the leaker's motivation was, quote, disgust at the corruption of the Clinton Foundation and the tilting of the primary election playing field against Bernie Sanders, and he said the source had legal access to the information. The documents came from inside leaks, not from hacks.
Yeah, we don't comment on sourcing. Craig Murray is a former UK ambassador. He is a friend of mine. He is not authorized to speak on behalf of WikiLeaks.
Are you angry that he gave this interview?
I just don't want to go anywhere near that.
Is it much more likely that would have happened versus the Russians?
I don't want to be drawn on this.
Okay.
We have to protect our sources.
All right, here now with reaction, the co-host of the hit show The Five, Eric Bolling, Kimberly Guilfoyle. You know, it's amazing. They ignored the collusion between the media and, of course, the Clinton campaign. They ignored that. The racism, misogyny, sexism, anti-Semitism of the DNC. The only thing that matters here, if it hurts Donald Trump, let's make it up, even though he denies it, and there's no evidence that proves it.
Liberals, anti-Trumpers. Remember, Hillary Clinton didn't want to come out and concede the election that night. Allegedly, reports say she got very violent with Podesta and Robbie Mook. Okay, it was their fault first. Then it became voter fraud. So when we had to go through this charade, song and dance of recounts, that didn't work out. Then it became it's the Russians' fault. The Russians affected the election. It's none of the above. They had a flawed candidate. Hillary Clinton is the worst candidate, not necessarily the worst human being, but the worst candidate to run for president in my lifetime. The Russians didn't make her come up with deplorables, and it wasn't Donald Trump who made Obamacare premiums skyrocket, double in some cases, the week of the election.
Julian Assange was very clear it wasn't the Russians and no state whatsoever. There was a report earlier today, dailymail.com, about Craig Murray, WikiLeaks, former ambassador to Uzbekistan, claiming he had a at a meeting, a clandestine handoff in a wooded area near American University with the source, and that the source was within the Clinton campaign, and they were discussed at the corruption of the Clinton Foundation and the tilting of the primary election field against Bernie Sanders, and that this source had legal access to those emails.
Right, so pretty compelling, like, factual narrative there to say exactly what the genesis of this was. But you have to understand that doesn't comport with what they want to tell the American people is the story. They want to be able to try to undermine the presidency to come of Donald Trump, the movement that put him in, and to discount the flawed nature of their candidate who had no regard for the law or for the American people and concealed and destroyed evidence and cost lives to be lost in Benghazi. And that's the real story.
Well, we know the CIA did politicize what happened in Benghazi because they advanced the false narrative about a YouTube video, spontaneous demonstration, and the spontaneous demonstrators just happen to have mortars and RPGs in their back pocket. Are either of you worried at all about the electors that are being intimidated?
I'm not worried about the electors. I'm concerned that the CIA wouldn't put someone forward. There's supposed to be a House Intel Committee meeting tomorrow, behind closed doors, not off the record, on the record, but in private. And the CIA wouldn't put an intel agent.
Maybe they think the evidence is flimsy and weak?
Or since they made the original claim that the Russians affected the outcome of the election, since then they've come up with more evidence proving that maybe they didn't, or they were wrong in the first place. Yeah, at the very least, show up and let the House Intel Committee find out.
That's what oversight's supposed to be about.
Well, my sources in the CIA that I spoke to about this told me there's a divide even within the CIA, that many of the old guard, the actual operatives, the people doing the hard work in and out are in, I guess, basically in conflict with some of the younger analyst types who are more politically leaned toward Hillary Clinton, and that's really what has gone on here, and it shouldn't be that way. But so far, you're not hearing specific evidence, credible evidence, to say that the Russians had anything to do with hacking or, in fact, affecting any voter fraud in the outcome of the United States presidential election.
All right. Thanks, both of you, for sticking around late as you do. We appreciate you always being here. Thank you.
Thanks, John.